But there's a lot of things about myself I don't like. And maybe by setting...
Loretta Lynn spent her life singing with a fire no woman in country music had before. And behind that fire were wounds she never let the world see. At 90, the Queen of Country finally revealed the names she carried in silence. Not rivals, not competitors, but the very people who hurt her more deeply than any heartbreak she ever wrote about. These weren't petty grudges. They were battle scars left by betrayal, disrespect, and the kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than a bad marriage. And at the top of that list wasn't a stranger, nor an enemy from afar. It was someone much closer, someone whose absence wounded her more than any public slight ever could. Because the person Loretta Lynn hated most was her own sister. And when she finally told the world why, it changed everything. Crystal Gayle was the one name Loretta Lynn never wanted to hate. Yet she became the deepest cut of all. Crystal wasn't a rival on the charts, nor a rising star threatening Loretta's legacy. She was family, blood. The little sister Loretta once protected from the harsh world of Nashville, but fame has a cruel way of twisting relationships, and when Crystal exploded with "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue," the industry crowned her the future of country, while quietly pushing Loretta into the past. For Loretta, the real betrayal didn't come from headlines. It came on her 60th birthday. A grand celebration, a hall full of legends, cameras flashing, tributes pouring in, and Crystal Gayle never showed up. No call, no explanation, no apology, just silence, the kind that echoes louder than any insult. Later, when asked about Loretta in an interview, Crystal simply said, "She was an influence." One cold, tiny word, and the bond shattered. And yet, Crystal wasn't the only one who made Loretta feel erased, because another woman, Olivia Newton-John, would ignite an even bigger fire inside her. Olivia Newton-John was never supposed to be an enemy. Yet to Loretta Lynn, she became the face of everything threatening the soul of country music. When Olivia, a pop artist from Australia, won CMA Female Vocalist of the Year in 1974, Loretta felt something inside her snap. It wasn't jealousy, it was disbelief. To her, country music was built from dirt roads, broken hearts, and real-life struggle. Olivia, with her polished image and soft pop sound, represented the exact opposite. Loretta famously muttered backstage, "What's next? The Beatles winning bluegrass?" And when Olivia later claimed she wanted to bring country to the mainstream, Loretta fired back sharply, "Country doesn't need saving. Country needs respect." To Loretta, Olivia wasn't just an outsider, she was a symbol of Nashville's willingness to erase its roots in exchange for radio-friendly gloss. But as heated as her frustration was, it still couldn't compare to the fury she felt toward the next woman. A rival whose entire image contradicted everything Loretta believed about strength and honesty. And that woman was Tammy Wynette. Tammy Wynette wasn't just another name in Loretta Lynn's world. She was the embodiment of everything Loretta refused to be. While Loretta sang about fierce, independent women who fought back, Tammy became America's sweetheart by preaching the opposite. Her anthem, "Stand by Your Man," was the very message Loretta spent her life battling against. To Loretta, the song wasn't harmless. It was harmful. It glorified a kind of quiet suffering that Loretta had bled to escape. Their rivalry wasn't loud or explosive, but it simmered beneath every awards show and backstage hallway. At the 1970 CMA Awards, when Tammy sweetly thanked God for keeping me humble, Loretta muttered under her breath, "Humble? My foot. She looks like a fox wearing fur." She refused every invitation to duet with Tammy, saying she didn't sing songs that made women smaller. But Tammy wasn't the only one Loretta felt overshadowed by. Another man, someone she once trusted deeply, would soon deal her a blow that left a much colder mark. And that man was Conway Twitty. Conway Twitty was supposed to be Loretta Lynn's greatest musical partner. Yet behind the curtain, he became one of her deepest disappointments. The world adored their duets, calling them the golden pair of country music. But Loretta knew the truth wasn't nearly that golden. After their smash hit in 1973, the media praised Conway endlessly while treating her like an accessory to his success. Conway didn't help matters. In interviews, he joked that Loretta was just tagging along, a remark that cut far deeper than he ever realized. The final straw came backstage in 1979 when Conway laughed and said, "Loretta's still holding up, for her age." She heard every word. Minutes later, when they were supposed to walk on stage together, Loretta simply didn't show. Conway stood alone under the lights, confused and exposed. Nashville never forgot it. Neither did Loretta. Their partnership ended quietly. But the wound stayed sharp, and as painful as that chapter was, the next one struck an even more sensitive nerve, because Reba McEntire wasn't just a peer. She was the woman the industry used to replace Loretta, and Loretta never forgave that. Reba McEntire wasn't someone Loretta Lynn hated for personal reasons. She became the symbol of something much bigger and far more painful. When Reba rose to fame in the 1980s, Nashville began calling her the new Queen of Country, a title Loretta had spent decades earning with blood, grit, and raw honesty. It wasn't Reba's talent that upset Loretta. It was the industry's eagerness to replace her before she was even close to finished. Headlines praised Reba as the future, while quietly implying Loretta belonged to the past. The moment that sealed Loretta's resentment came at the 1987 CMA Awards. Reba sang Loretta's iconic song, "You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man," but never once mentioned Loretta's name. Loretta sat in the front row, arms folded, expression cold as marble, backstage. She muttered to her manager, "I don't clap for thieves." It wasn't petty jealousy. It was a refusal to let her life's work be erased. But even this sting couldn't compare to the betrayal that cut the deepest. Because the next name wasn't a rival or a rising star. It was Johnny Cash, the man she trusted more than anyone. Johnny Cash was the one name Loretta Lynn never expected to place on a list of hatred, because for years, he was the man she trusted above nearly everyone else. Their bond wasn't built on romance or scandal. It was built on faith, friendship, and the quiet understanding of two people who had survived the kind of pain most never speak about. They prayed together backstage, shared Bible verses on tour buses, and leaned on each other when fame felt more like a burden than a blessing. To Loretta, Johnny wasn't just a colleague. He was family in the spiritual sense, which is why his betrayal cut deeper than any insult, any headline, any jealous rivalry Nashville had ever thrown at her. In 1978, Loretta was invited to appear on a nationally televised gospel program hosted by Johnny himself. She felt honored, until 48 hours before the broadcast, when she was abruptly dropped from the lineup without explanation. Later, she learned the truth. Johnny Cash was the one who removed her, claiming she was too outspoken, too political, too controversial for gospel television. Loretta said the pain of that discovery felt like a knife. Johnny eventually sent her a handwritten apology years later. She read it once, placed it in a cedar box, and never responded. But even after all the hurt and silence, Loretta kept moving forward, because one final truth awaited her at the end of this story. And it was the truth only a 90-year-old legend could deliver. In the end, what Loretta Lynn revealed at 90 wasn't a list of enemies. It was a map of her wounds, her loyalty, and her unshakable belief in honesty. Each name she spoke carried a different kind of pain. And the final name, Johnny Cash, was simply the deepest cut. But after reliving every betrayal, every disappointment, and every moment she felt erased, Loretta reached a truth far more powerful than anger. She realized she had never truly hated these people as much as she hated what they represented: broken trust, disrespect, and the slow erosion of everything she believed country music should stand for. Crystal Gayle showed her how painful silence could be. Olivia Newton-John reminded her how fragile authenticity was in a world chasing glamour. Tammy Wynette exposed the battle between submission and strength. Conway Twitty taught her that even partners can overshadow the women beside them. Reba McEntire showed how quickly an industry can replace its pioneers. And Johnny Cash, he was the lesson that even the purest friendships can fracture under pressure. But Loretta didn't tell these stories to reopen old wounds. She told them to close them, to make peace with the truth she had carried for decades, to let the world know that even legends bleed and still choose to stand tall. She understood that her power didn't come from who wronged her, but from how she survived, how she kept singing, and how she refused to let anyone rewrite the legacy she fought to build. And as she looked back on every heartbreak and betrayal, Loretta left us with one final message. Strength isn't measured by who stands with you, but by who you remain after everyone else walks away.